But the first thing you got to do is actually make that jump, make that step. Like if I didn't come out and actually attend the limo tour and then continue to follow up with
didn't you borrow money to go on the limo tour?
Yeah, I literally couldn't pay for the ticket. So I was like, hey man, I'll hit you back, right? For like $150.
What's going on, guys? Jeff Wybo here, and I'm with a good buddy, Adam Martin, who's never been on my channel before, but I want to get him on, and the most important thing about he wants to tell us right now is to
smash that like button, guys. Hit the subscribe button while you're at it.
That's right, and he works within our business, and I want to go over his whole backstory of how he's got to this present spot right here, right now. And it's a very interesting story, so stick around in this video. Take us back 2017 in the winter, so it's like literally 2 years ago right now.
Yep.
You did what?
Yeah, so December 2017, I was feeling a little bit desperate about my working situation. I was working in a desk job that was paying me decent money at the time, but I have a lot of debt as well. And I was trying to think about ways to actually overcome my debt and overcome these 16-hour work days that weren't really getting me anywhere. So I started really looking into real estate, started trying to find creative ways to get into real estate and how people are actually doing it, how they're getting ahead, how they're building wealth and cash flow through real estate as an investing strategy. And I've stumbled upon, actually my friend stumbled upon Jeff Wybo's Wybo Limo Tour and invited me to come on it with him in London. So at the time I was living in Guelph actually, so it's like an hour, 15 hour and a half away from London. And I was like, okay, I'll go check out London. I started looking on realtor.ca or MLS at what was going on there in the market. So I noticed right away houses were a lot cheaper here, like half price of Guelph at least. And then I started thinking about this opportunity of going on this limo tour, and I was like, well, that's really interesting. Like I obviously had no means at all at the time to get into a property, literally no money, no credit. My credit was fine, but like no real borrowing power. And I was pretty much ready to quit my job. And I was like, okay, this sounds interesting. Like no idea who Jeff Wybo was at the time or Matt McKeever. And I went on this limo tour. We showed up late.
So let me stop you there.
Yeah.
I almost wanted to leave the limo because I wanted the limo to leave because we had like 20, 30 people waiting.
Like 30 people waiting.
You were there, 2 other people were coming. And I'm getting a text from somebody, I can't even remember, but they're like, can you wait? We're just parking. The problem is I had appointments that we had to get to these triplexes and duplexes. And the first one, let's say it was starting at 10 a.m. The first appointment was like 10, 15, 10, 20. And you guys are telling us to like wait. And I'm like, okay, so screw everybody else or wait for you guys. And I gave you like 1 more minute. You guys came running because you're looking for parking. I open up the limo door and you guys come on in. I was like, who are these new guys?
We come flying in and first thing Jeff says, oh, I'm glad you could find a suit for today. And I just like, oh my God.
Don't remember that.
He sees it already. Yeah, 100% you. So anyways, we get on this limo and I sit down and right away it was pretty clear like I'm in the right space, I'm in the right place to be at that moment. The people that were on the limo, as always with all of Jeff's limo tours, like these are high quality individuals, they're great investors, they're knowledgeable, they know the city, they know investing strategy, they know tactics, and they're all willing to share. So as soon as I was on the limo, I was like, this is gold. Like I've hit the jackpot here. I got to find out more about these people. And Jeff actually had pointed me to the guy at the back of the bus with a camera, and he's like, make sure you go and talk to Matt McKeever at the back. He's got a big YouTube channel, and I do a lot of work with them and all that. And I was like, okay, interesting.
So Matt was carrying the camera back then?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Times have changed.
Yeah, and I wasn't really sure what that meant at the time. Like I was like, YouTube, real estate, like I don't know like why this matters at all. Started talking to Matt and realized that like he obviously knew a lot about real estate. And from that day, like obviously I wasn't there to buy because I didn't have the resources at the time, but I made some great connections, got Matt's contact info, and actually got back in touch with him after going home from the limo tour and watching about 300 of his videos. So I binged all of Matt's content.
You call it McKeever and chill, like Netflix and chill?
It was ridiculous. So I watched like 300 videos. I call Matt up and I'm like, Matt, listen, I 100% need to come and work with you. And Matt's like, okay, let's book a meeting. I have no idea what you are going to do and like how I'm going to pay you or for what, but just show up. We'll talk about it.
Did you ever read Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek?
No, I actually didn't. I should.
There's parts within that book where he's just like, you go work for these people for free,
Yeah.
just like learn everything from them, and you're like literally a living example of it.
Yeah. So I came down. I remember it was a Sunday we met. It was snowing like crazy. It was horrible weather. We drove down, and like it was early morning. Met him in his kitchen. We sat down at the table that if you guys have been following along with Jeff's stories and stuff, you'll see it's the same table. It's now in the front of the mansion here. Right. But anyways, we sat there and discussed like what would the future look like? What were things that I could do for him? I'd run some saws before in the past. I've swung a few hammers, but I'm not good at it.
Didn't know anything.
I didn't know anything. And Matt's like, well, I've got this renovation project you could start on. And at the time that was one of his Adelaide buildings, which was like a massive project. And I was like, okay. And he's like, do you think you can do it unsupervised? And I'm like, no. And then he's like, okay, well, I'll give you 20 an hour, show up and I'll have somebody that you can work with so that you can actually like learn what you're doing. I show up, sure enough, absolutely nobody there to give me any instructions at all. And he's like, yeah, just do the job. And I was like, Matt, this is way outside of my skill range. So anyways, that was project number one. And the reason why I wanted to do this, so in doing this too, I quit my job. So like I quit my job and started driving every single day from Guelph to London. I would leave at like 5:30 or so to be here for 7 to start working, and then work like 12 hours and then go home. And like I was making way less money than I was at my desk job. And I wasn't really getting any time with Matt, which was sort of the important thing here, was like building that network, building the connections, and really establishing like a mentorship sort of role here, a mentee role with Matt and Jeff. And at that point, like I'd been doing this construction with them for a while, and we all knew that I was absolutely horrible at doing it. Mm-hmm. So we were like, we got to find a way out of this. Like we got to find something else to do. And so that's when I really leaned in to the mentorship aspect, where I'm like, what else can we do to leverage my skills, which is like talking, negotiating, meeting people, networking. I've done some door-to-door sales. I've done a lot of calling with my previous job, and we decided like, okay, let's get you focused on some off-market properties and wholesaling basically. So find off-market properties, lock up the contract, and then connect them with the buyer. And I was like, well, that sounds great, but I've never seen a real estate contract. Like I didn't know anything. So somewhere out there in the world, there's a video.
I'll teach you one day.
There's a video of Jeff walking me through an agreement of purchase and sale in about 5 minutes with some red ink. And I'm like, yeah, I think I got it.
Cheat sheet. Take it away.
Like, I think I got it. I had no idea.
Make it till you make it.
So I went out, and it had been a few months now. So I started in January. So we're starting to get into like spring, kind of warmer weather, a bit better weather, but it's still raining lots. And I'm out there knocking doors and like talking to people and calling contractors and property managers and realtors and anybody that could tell me about off-market opportunities for real estate. We did a few wholesale deals, so made some money, and that's kind of how I was getting paid at the time. So I was literally here working for free, learning everything I could from Matt and Jeff about real estate, and that's like what my huge benefit was. That's why I came here. So I was super happy to do that. We did some assignments, actually made some money, ended up basically Matt and Jeff arranged the Ontario Real Estate Conference at that point. And so I just started wholesaling. I was getting tons of leads. We were sending out all sorts of flyers, or I was sending out all sorts of flyers, and like really starting to get into the swing of things and like learning real estate and the contracts and how to talk to sellers and buyers and connecting the two things together. And that's when OREC happened. So this was OREC 2018, the first Ontario Real Estate Conference that Matt and Jeff just pulled out of a hat. They're like, hey, nobody's doing a good conference, and nobody took the name Ontario Real Estate Conference yet.
Wide open. Yeah.
So boom, they planted the flag.
We planned it in 70 days or something stupid. Incredible that we actually pulled it off. I wouldn't even do that right now. I don't know how I did that, but
I don't know either. So OREC 2018, and that was incredible. There was I think almost 300.
Yeah, and the people just loved it, right?
Yeah,
there was all real investing knowledge. It wasn't just fluff, because we didn't have fluff to sell you.
We didn't have it. So OREC was crazy, and I mean, it made a lot of sense for a lot of people, because what was happening is there was a main stage where speakers would talk about their specific strategies and things that they were great at. Like, we only had killers on the stage that were great at what they were talking about, and then if you liked that topic, so if you were there to talk about rent-to-owns or flips or BRRRRs or long-term rentals, there was somebody to talk about that, and then you could watch them in a breakout session for like an hour and really dive into that strategy. So it was incredible, because nobody else is doing that. Everybody else is running to the back of the room trying to catch your 20 grand for some coaching product. That's not what we were about. I was talking about wholesaling at that time. That was really interesting. I remember running our booth and like still kind of skirting around the idea of like how to do wholesaling and making sure we're all staying on the right side of the gray zone on that one. At that point,
and wholesalers are very valuable to a realtor as well, because my buyers need a lot of product and I can always ship them over to you.
Yeah.
And then, if they're flippers, then I can put it back on the MLS afterwards.
Yep.
So that's why I hang out with you guys.
That's right. Yeah, leads. Got to get those leads. So after OREC, I kept hitting the doors hard, kept hitting the leads hard and the flyers, and actually wound up finding my first property. But if you've connected the dots and followed the story throughout this whole video, you'll know that I still don't really have good employment income. I still don't have great credit, and most banks aren't going to touch me. So what I had to do was get really creative, and I did that by getting one of the best creatively financed deals that most people will have ever heard about, where I actually got seller financing, or a vendor take back, for 96% of the property value for a 13-year term at 3%, which is like completely unheard of. So for 13 years, I don't need to even go and qualify at a bank, and I'm paying 3% interest on the money, and I only had to put 4% down, of which I borrowed. So I borrowed the 4% down. I then got the 96% VTB in first on the property. And then with my own capital, I put in about $7,000 of material and time, obviously, and got that building kind of rehabbed up to a spot where I could then live in one of the bedrooms and rent out the other 4 to students. So that was a crazy time in my life. At that time I stopped driving from Guelph to London every day, which saved me like $1,000 a week there, like $600 a week, because I was driving the A5 at the time. Mm-hmm. And like, I cut out my rent expense, which I think at that time was like $1,200 a month, and traded that for actually living for free here near Fanshawe with a bunch of students, which wasn't ideal, but at the same time, I think I was cash flowing like $400 a month and living for free. At this time? 24.
So 24 living with students. It's
fine,
world, right?
It's fine, yeah. So that made a lot of sense, and since then things have progressed, and now it's actually a full Airbnb, which is really cool. So right now I've got guests there. They paid $3,000 to be there for the month. My monthly expenses are about $1,800 on that building. So you do the math. That's some great cash flow for a building that I technically only have $7,000 in. So you do that math. I've got infinite return on investment there, and that's kind of how your first property and how getting into real estate can really change your life situation, because like the net benefit there was a few $1,000s a month. So that was incredible. Furthermore, like in that year, so we're still in 2018 here, we with Matt and Jeff, again following these guys around, was an incredible opportunity. We actually hosted the Vegas Entrepreneurial Experience.
Again, what were we thinking?
Insane. Like, these guys are just nuts.
We bought out
they go big.
A hotel room for 2 days in Vegas, not a hotel room, sorry. We bought out a whole hotel.
A hotel.
60-something rooms. We bought it out for the whole weekend. We invited 60, 70 of our top entrepreneur friends to attend it, and we decided to try to take over the world for this event.
Which is really cool, because it kind of was like the runway that would kind of take us as a team into 2019 and what we've been able to accomplish this year. And like 2020 is looking really exciting.
Yeah.
So
right around the corner right now.
So we're filming this like November and mid-November right now. Yeah. So like, it's going to be exciting. But Vegas was crazy. We all flew to Vegas. These guys bought out the hotel, and there were 70 entrepreneurs that were just there to talk about how to win at life.
I'm talking like this was a 60 to 70,000 American weekend.
Yeah.
I swiped on my credit card.
Yeah. Well, and like when you did that too, there was no promise that anybody was showing up. I remember this. We were like, Jesus, who's going to come?
We committed, and then you guys can take this in your life elsewhere too.
Yeah.
We committed to it and then worked backwards and got everybody to attend.
But you had to.
Could have done like maybe a Kickstarter, but like,
yeah, it almost went to there, but
yeah, I remember telling Matt, I'm like, yeah, we're doing this. And he's like, okay, we're doing this. I'm like, oh shit, we're doing
this.
So
Vegas kind of inspired all of us, I think, to grow and like really hammer down and like be better, right? Be better investors, be better entrepreneurs, be better at networking, be better at social media, and get connected. Because like we had a kid there that was making like $100,000 a month or something at like 18 years old.
It wasn't just a bunch of real estate investors that all have the same duplex and we're all talking about our duplex. We had 17-year-olds making $100K off Shopify. We had 18-year-olds making $100K a month off YouTube. So that's fascinating to me, guys. If it's fascinating to you, you want to know more of it, obviously you want to get involved with us. But like, that's what I really liked about our mastermind. It wasn't just a bunch of real estate investors. It was an entrepreneurial mastermind. And and a lot of the people from that mastermind have gone on to do big things right now. A good core of them have gone on to purchase properties. We've tried new things, starting YouTube channels, and it's just gets the juices flowing, right?
Look at, I think it's worth a mention here, like look at Mike. Van Hout, like he's got an explosive channel now and he's killing it. And like in Vegas, he stood up, he's like, I don't like public speaking.
And now he's got an Audi YouTube channel and it's got tons of views. I'll put a link to this Mike guys in our video here so you guys can check it out. But Mike's channel is pretty cool. And it all came from Vegas, where he didn't want to do anything. And he's actually quitting his job now.
Is he?
Yeah, he's quitting with Audi, and he wants to just do the YouTube channels and all his other side hustles that he has going on. And literally, Vegas probably changed lives, and it's continuing to change my life and your life too.
Well, for me, like right after Vegas, it was like I bought my first property at 24, and so I like to say it took me 24 years to buy the first, and then it took like 6 months to buy the next 5 units. So I got a fourplex right after that, another single family in this year in 2019. And if we look back now at 2019, we did 2 more OREC events. So we did Wind City OREC, which was really cool. So we went down to the Chicharo Club in Windsor, got a huge attendance there. Stephan came down and a bunch of really interesting investors that were on stage. That was a great experience, and like it really just goes to show that like there are these communities all over the world, but like for sure they're all over Southern Ontario, and people get on these little islands and think that they're alone, but it's networking, guys. You got to come out to these events where you can be surrounded by 300 people that want to think and grow like you.
In 2012, I knew like 3 people doing real estate investing, and now I know over 500, right? Like easily within my area.
And before I met you guys, like I was so on an island. Like I didn't even know that like YouTube had all this content. So like I was sitting at home like reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, getting super inspired, but then I was like, Jesus, I don't think I can talk to Robert Kiyosaki. He's not picking up his phone.
Right.
You're reading Wealthy Barber, and like I think Dave Chilton actually will pick up his phone, but like, because he shows up in cafes all over Kitchener and stuff, but like, if you're reading Wealthy Barber, you're at home alone. You don't know that there's 300 people that want to get together. And until, you guys started hosting that kind of thing, I don't think any of us really knew that could happen.
And then the access to them. Like, you thought Robert Kiyosaki wasn't a real person when you first were reading that book, right?
Yeah.
You thought you'd never meet him, and now you can, but you can have a lot of access to us, like very easily. Just come to a real estate conference or the limo tours or our free meetups as well.
Well, and that's the thing, and like these guys are no joke now. Like Jeff's bought over 20 units this year. Right? Matt's got over, I think, 100 or like 80 or 100 units now in total. Right?
And
the guys
were negotiating 47 more right now. So hopefully by the time this video launches.
So it's incredible. Like we're all growing here at an explosive rate.
And like even for me, if it wasn't for OREC and if it wasn't for the network, I would have just been comfortable with a duplex, a triplex, and just called it a day. Because
well, how many years did you go with like 4 units,
because
right?
I was the top of my friends group. I was doing the best until you start expanding your friends group, and you're like, I gotta do more now.
Like, like, damn it. Now Jeff's bought 20. Like, look at all these other realtors out here. How many properties do they own? Like, if you got a realtor right now, or you are a realtor and you don't own properties, shame on you.
You have access every day.
Shame. But, you know, moving right along, OREC 2019 this year was crazy. The attendance was, I think, almost double. Like, there was a lot of people at this OREC, and we're now again, it's November, we're kind of leaning into 2020 now, and we're starting to look at OREC Elite, which is the next iteration of OREC and the next version of OREC and where we want to take it. And like, this one looks really exciting. A venue change, I think a bit of a style change, a bit of a tone change. Like, it's going to be a really cool event.
OREC Elite. So yeah, it's gonna be good.
Interpret that however you want. But, you know, I think the main point of this video and the main point of sharing this story with you guys is to just let you know that, like, there's people out here that you can talk to. There's networking events that you can attend. We have courses on how to learn how to do this stuff if we don't have time. We have one-on-one consulting and mentorships and that kind of thing available to you. But the first thing you got to do is actually make that jump, make that step. Like, if I didn't come out and actually attend the limo tour and then continue to follow up with
didn't you borrow money to go on the limo tour?
Yeah, I literally couldn't pay for the ticket. So I was like, hey man, I'll hit you back, right? For like $150.
Oh, that was like 60 back then.
Or 60 bucks,
get $20 out of people back then.
So it's like, you know, you just got to take that action and then like follow it up with massive action. Like, I moved cities, right? I made my girlfriend at the time move cities. I did everything. Like, I left my apartment. I then bought a house here. I don't know anybody here. Like, I literally, at the time, I didn't know anybody.
Yeah, think about that for you guys. If you live in a city and something's going on an hour away from you, 2 hours away, would you just move? Would you move? Like, we have guys moving into the mansion, into a room because of the opportunity. That's crazy. That's the power of social media right now. I don't know if I would have had, you know, the balls to do that when I was 21, because there was no social media telling you it's okay. That would have just been maybe weird back then. But now it's like, cool, that's awesome, man. And they can see your success because you're posting a lot on your Instagram and all that. So
we got to think, like, I had to explain myself a lot, right? To family, friends. Like, I had to fire some friends. And you're going to have to consider this.
You came from a small town where what you do now is like crazy.
That's
right?
It's impossible.
It's impossible.
No, it's impossible.
Like, you're not supposed to leave that town.
You shouldn't.
Right?
No.
Yeah.
And like, people are going to continue to ask in that town for the next 10 years probably, what's Adam doing, right? Oh, well, he lives in a mansion with these guys and does real estate or something. Like,
the same people, when you get back together talking to them, they're still talking about the sports game from high school and all that. And you're like, okay, man,
remember rugby?
Way past that. So I'm trying to buy 10 more properties right
now, so. And
cool.
Don't stop there. So that's a bit about my story, guys. I hope you enjoyed that story. Find me on Instagram. It's Adam JD Martin. You can find me on Facebook there as well. Same name, Adam JD Martin on all platforms. And once again, guys, if you haven't already, like and subscribe.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. And make sure you guys stick around on this channel and watch another video. Thank you guys. Bye.